Everyone, let me mute. Okay. Hi. I just wanted to say that I just finished. Wait, this is a vlog. Hi everyone, welcome back. Let's stop the active track. I finished reading Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. A Midsummer Night's Dream. Is it a Midsummer Night's Dream? A Midsummer Night's Dream. It is probably a Midsummer Night's Dream. I finished reading that around after the eclipse that happened across Europe, which I was lucky enough that our neighbor had the solar glasses, and we shared them with a lot of people. And to be honest, I was really something moved in me a lot when I was looking at the eclipse itself, but sharing solar glasses with anyone who came to the group, and they were like, oh, I guess you guys are crazy. What is it? Is it really that good? And you're like, yeah, would you like to borrow my glasses? And at first they are hesitant, but then you insist. You gotta give people love sometimes. And then they cave in and they're like, okay, I guess I'll try. Oh my god, most people would really just be so moved by the view, because for them, they didn't watch the eclipse as the sun was covered by the moon as it progressed, but they saw this moment when it's like full on wild. It's like a pupil that's like completely dilated. It was so beautiful to see people's reactions. So watch the eclipse, read A Midsummer Night's Dream. There's a mention of an eclipse. Maybe that's not the word. Oh, actually no, that's not the book that had that. I also read of Gabriel Garcia Marquez's Of Love and Other Demons, which is a book. It's part journalistic report on well, that's how it starts. It's like a journalistic fictional work. So it starts off with the narrator telling us that he was a journalist and he saw this grave of this girl, and then recounts the story of when it happened. It's basically a girl, a daughter of a nobleman in a Spanish colony, I think. And this fictional world where everything revolves mostly around this girl, and she is ultimately the clock in the story, and her family in general is the clock in the story. So when her life ends and her family's life ends, then the story ends. But everything that happens revolves around religious fanaticism, a lot of misunderstanding about mental health, or even like childhood that is scarred by beliefs and the adults around this child. So that was quite a sad story, but it's really well written, and I love that Gabriel Garcia Marquez really knows that words are very important, and he uses them very, how can I say, like a miser, like he doesn't use too many words, and he gets to the point, but it's still very beautifully written. I bet it's even more beautiful in Spanish. I read the English translation. And there are metaphors, and there's also an eclipse in the book. So that was like a really nice coincidence for me. And then after that, I picked up Shakespeare's Macbeth. That's another tragedy. Unfortunately, it does not end well. There's a lot of I think it's more like leaders coming to their fall after, you know, ignoring everything and thinking that they're above the forces of nature, and sort of another kind of descent into madness and the fall of a king and tyrants and political political issues. But mostly like treason, decay, moral decay, uh, I guess envy is a main theme too for the throne, and then greed for power, it's a main theme. I'm finding Shakespeare very easy to read. Fortunately, I I have never listened to a lot of people claim that Shakespeare might be pretty difficult. I probably believed them for a bit, but then I remember I have read The Caucasian Chalk Circle by Bertolt Brecht. He's German, and it's about this maid who saves an heir whose mother wants him dead, because she wants the throne or something. It starts with the failed attempt at assassination. She steals the baby and goes on this long, she's running away basically, and she's being pursued by soldiers and people who this mother has sent after the baby. And we see a maid's motherly love being shown that is absent in the, you know, biological mom. So that's a German play, and I read this in school and I really enjoyed it. I found a copy recently, but I thought it was a bit overpriced, so I'm gonna try and find a used copy of the book. So I thought, you know, I could as well, I might actually be very good at reading Shakespeare and understanding it even without reading up the meanings. Because to be honest, I think the way to read Shakespeare is to actually read it out loud in your head and think about the emotion. It's a play. Plays depend on emotion, and emotion through words. I mean, Shakespeare's words are emotional, and they all have an emotion tied to it, every single sentence. So if you fail to read it like a play, then you fail to get the meaning, but you also fail to stress on what he's trying to tell you. So I thoroughly enjoy Shakespeare. I think I'm gonna have to pick like all Shakespeare and read them because I'm kind of on a streak. But then I'm right now, so after finishing that book, I've got to write a bit because I feel even more inspired. And what better book to read than The Voyage Out by Virginia Woolf, which is apparently sort of like a writer's voyage out and not coming back. I don't know what it is. I haven't read the introduction. I try not to read too much of the introductions for any of the classic works because when they were written, there was no introduction. So I want to read it as if it's being published today. And then I'll go back, and if I want to, I'll read the introduction and try to see things that the author is trying. I mean, people who have studied this in depth are trying to highlight, because all knowledge exists in each and every one of us, and I respect anyone who has something to say about literature, who studies literature, and I will give them my time by reading the introduction because, first of all, I'm reading this for pleasure, but I also want to gain something. I don't want to lose it. So all introductions are very important if you're curious about them. You don't have to read all of them. So yeah, Virginia Woolf is my next read. The Voyage Out. I'm just saying this because this is really not encouraging to me. I recently read A Room of One's Own. I found it extremely meandering. She goes on and on and on. She doesn't get to the point, and then she gets to the point, and I'm like, you could have said that. But I understood what it did to my brain. It kind of made my brain have this intense bird's eye view, and then it zoomed in and then went out and then spanned out. I don't know, it's like mental exercise for attention. So I'm gonna read The Voyage Out. I think Virginia Woolf is absolutely brilliant. She will do wonderful things to your brain, even though you might not like the experience of trying to wrap your head around this kind of writing that's not necessarily how modern writers do it. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's my reading update. I was making dinner. That's the dishwasher. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. I'm not going to edit this one. I hope you listen. If you don't, it's fine. I'm pretty much enjoying myself. By the way, I have Bones in the background because Bones is my all-time favorite show. I have it in English, but it has Dutch subtitles. So it's like my way of sort of language learning. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Tomorrow I'm going to the museum, Rijksmuseum. I'm pretty excited. Okay, bye. I'll see you again.